He says that we're going to be a permanent underclass. Just want to get your thoughts.
Well, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. But there is, I don't want to be that, I don't want to be that deaf and strong to say that black folk have no hope. It's very, very scant. The door is pretty well closed. You got a little crack of light coming through. There's an opportunity that black folk can do it, and that's why I wrote the Powernomics book, to say you can do it if you really, truly begin to understand the nature of your dilemma and then use these Powernomics principles. You can make it. You can become a competitive group. But the problem, Carl, is that never, never, never in the history of this nation has anybody systematically gone back and defined the problems that are impeding black folk. They don't ever talk. All they focus on are symptoms and get into ceremonious events, wheel spinning, non-frictional kind of activities that are totally, absolute waste of time, that are designed strictly to engage black folk in fundraising activities. Because the problem is just what they've been ever since the history of the nation. Black folk have 3 or 4 major problems, Carl. The first one is that they have never addressed and tried to correct the historical dilemma of black folk, and through the purpose and original intent of slavery. Slavery was put into place not by accident, but on purpose. And what was the purpose? It was to intentionally maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's land, privileges, money, businesses, resources, rights, and everything and all the political positions in this country into the hands of the dominant white society. That was the original intent of slavery. It has never been addressed. You got black folk locked in box. And how did they get boxed? They are boxed by the United States Constitution. I have never, never, never heard one black go back and look at the whole purpose of the Constitution. The Constitution was the first affirmative action plan in the United States. And that first affirmative action plan, which is the United States Constitution, that you hear every black talk about, well, this is our Constitution, and even Martin Luther King. You're wrong. The Constitution was not designed to benefit black folk. It was designed to make you equal to a field animal, to make you 3/5 of a human being, to make you property. And then they got locked by the United States Constitution, and boxed again by the United States Supreme Court that would not let black folks out of that box. So that's your first problem. No black leaders have ever formed a national movement to correct these burdens of black folk. Now the 1866 Civil Rights Law stipulated pretty well. The 1866 Civil Rights Law said it is incumbent and mandated by the 1866 Civil Rights Law that every level of government must use all necessary means to lift the burdens and legacies of slavery off the shoulders of black people. That was the 1866 enabling language for the civil rights movement. That's what it said. Now, and that was designed to correct the 1857 Dred Scott decision that says black people have no rights. The 1866 Civil Rights Law said you must use all means to lift the burdens and legacies of slavery off the shoulders of black folk. When the reason it said that was because the Dred Scott decision said black people have no rights. It didn't say gays. It didn't say transsexuals. It didn't say midgets, humpbacks, one-eyed people, peg legs, or people with ingrown toenails. It says black people. And that's why the civil rights laws came in to address the issues with black folk. But again, I'll tell you later on, because I'm not giving you a lecture right now, why it was converted, diverted, and corrupted so that black folk didn't get any benefits out of it. But that's the problem. That's the first problem. The second problem is that blacks is in 1790 immigration law. The 1790 immigration law says this is basically a white country, and we have a ranking order of acceptability. And we're going to invite foreigners from around the world to come to this country to get opportunities. We want to invite foreigners to come to this country to get opportunities in a ranking order of skin color. Whites, any whites are wide open, come anytime they want it. They went in a darkening color. It went white, yellow, brown, black. White, yellow, brown, black. That you can come in this country and get opportunities. And what were the equal opportunities? The equal opportunities were that if you had 90% free Indian land, and 90% black labor and 10% Indian land. That was commonly known as the American dream. Any immigrant could come to America to get unearned benefits. And what history could really call them They would call them pimps coming to a country. They were freeloaders. Immigrants are freeloaders. I have never in my life ever heard one black person come out and call them what they are. They come here looking for benefits. If they weren't coming here for benefits, they could have stayed where they were in their own country. And the benefits they're getting initially was free Indian land and free black labor. In the present day terms, all the immigrants are coming to the country to get the benefits of what black folk died and suffered for over 500 years.
Well, I just want to say this, my brother, to Rick in particular. You just heard a leader. You just heard a gentleman who has stood up as long as I've known him and has had a plan as long as I've known him, and a plan that would work if we would work it. And I'm just saying to you, this is the kind of leadership we need. This is where we need to support, to give our support financially and physically. We need to get our minds together and support something that's going to work for all of us. Here it is.
Right. So, Doc, where do we start?
Well, you start right now. You first address some of the issues going on right now. And then you start getting black folks. You get a cadre of blacks, in particular, even starting with the young black law school students around the country and all these major informants, different black legal unions. And you all start addressing the whole issue of the Constitution. And because it's in this broad, ambiguous language, that's very detrimental to black folk. Because in the Constitution, it defines black folk as, again, in broad, ambiguous terms, so it would leave no fingerprints on who's going to be misused and abused in a society. So whenever they talked about blacks in the Constitution, they never used the word black, not one time, nor did they ever use the word slave. They've used terms like that unique species, that peculiar group, that unhappy lot, those who are indebted, those who are incumbent, those in servitude. They use those broad words, and now our foolish blacks, the visible blacks, they modernize those terms instead of using the old terms. They now got you in the same bag, so they call you people of color, minorities, poor folk, diversity, multicultural, and so that nobody knows what's happening to black folk. You got to start going after that. The second thing to understand that no person right now in either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are going to address the issues pertaining to black folk because of the public PC, the political correctness issue. All these blacks are running around jumping up about what political party they're going to belong to, what political candidate they're going to support, and not one person in either the Democratic Party. Yes, I just take that back. Let me correct that. One person did, but typically in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, neither party has made any commitment.
All right, hang on a second, Doc. We got to take this quick break. Our last look at the traffic here in the DMV. 800-450-7876 to speak to Dr. Anderson. Your call's next on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Doc, I'm going to let you finish what you were saying before we left the break, and we got a bunch of folks that got questions for you, of course.
Okay, but I was going to tell you that right now it is almost impossible. There's only a small crack of opportunity left. It's almost impossible for black folk to compete and survive in a society the way it's presently constructed. And under the political correctness banner, they haven't got a snowball's chance except through those powernomics principles. You cannot compete on one half or 1% of the wealth of this nation. You got approximately $120 trillion economy in the United States, and black folk are proudly talking about they got $1 trillion. You can't make it. You got to own and control more than what we have. But to get any resources, you ask me what can they do? The first thing I'm going to tell you about to do, they got to go out and start doing what they never want to do. But they only tried to do it one time, I guess, between 1915 and 1940, and that is you got to go black. You got to proclaim your exceptionality. You are exceptional people. Black people are exceptional people, and I can't get that through their head. And they try to do just the opposite. They want to be equal to everybody else, be just like everybody else. That's going the wrong way. I told them that in the 1960s. You're going the wrong way. You're exceptional people. Nobody exceptional means having been treated unusual. That's different, and that's from anything else. Nobody on this earth has been treated the way black people have been treated in America. Nobody's been shut out of everything and mistreated and abused and exploited and subordinated like black folk in this country. And black folk need to quit trying to be equal to everybody else, be like everybody else. You cannot have equality in a society unless you have equal control of resources and ownership of power and resources. Right now, black folk need to say we are exceptional people and go after the society and say that this society right now owes black folk. One of the first things you should go after reparations. You got to redistribute some of the resources back into the hands of black folk so they can be a competitive people. And ironically, in the presidential campaign, even though I don't have a dog in this presidential race. I don't have a dog in the race. I don't care who wins, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. I don't care whether it's Hillary or Trump. But you know what the great irony is? The great irony is that only Trump, who everybody calls a racist, even black folk are calling a racist, he's the only one on at least 2 or 3 occasions I've heard on TV has gone back and said he would recognize and do something for black folk. Now, what do you think of that? Now, they call him a racist. He's the only one that says, I would recognize black folk, and I would go into these urban areas, just like Dr. Anderson recommended to Obama back in 2010 in that 16-page letter and news that I sent to him. Said he needs to focus on the 10 major urban areas in America where black folk are the majority population, and go in back in there and reindustrialize them and set up a reindustrialization banks where black folk can borrow money in those cities with low-income revolving loan funds and build their own industries. He needs to be able to call back all these industries overseas and allow black folk to get joint venture operations in these urban cities. Only Donald Trump, who has made that, said, I would go back and help black folk, I would recognize black folk, I would do some things in these urban cities for black folk. He's the only one that says that black folk are the only ones who should be on in affirmative action. No Democrat and no Republican has ever said that. And in the 100, I mean, out of 44 presidential holders in the United States, never in the history of this nation has one presidential candidate, including the present one, ever identified with black folk and say, here's what I'm going to do for black folk. Nobody, no political candidate has ever promised and delivered anything strictly and sold it to black folk to correct the legacies and burdens of slavery that were imposed on them by over 360 years of slavery and another 100 years of Jim Crow segregation, which means that this country and every politician, every civil rights leader is currently breaking the law. The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the Civil Rights Law of 1866, and a number of Supreme Court decisions like the Slaughterhouse case in 1872 said very specifically that you must use these things to help black folk. And you must lift the burden and not. What they've done though is to take those issues, those laws, those policies that pertain to black folk, and they've broadened and corrupted them to make up for everybody. White folk were not included. Asians and Arabs and Hispanics were not included. Nobody has ever. They didn't bring Hispanics and gays and midgets into this country and enslave them for 360 years. Nobody's enslaved women. Women throughout history has opposed every effort to bring some benefits to black folk. They did it in 1890s. They did it in 1866. They even went to the Supreme Court in 1866. They said they opposed freeing slaves in this country until white women be equal to the white man, even though at that time she was still owning and controlling almost everything the white man had. And she did it again in the 1960s and made them pass what's called the Title IX Amendment to give it to women. The women have never supported black folk. Asians have not supported black folk. The first enslavers of black folk were Arabs, then the Portuguese and the Europeans, then the Mexicans and the American Indians. Everybody has pimped and hustled black folk. And black folk are so silly, always going around talking about they are our blood brothers. You don't have any brothers. There are absolutely no incentives and no motivational benefits to anybody supporting black folk. Black people are on the bottom. They have no friends and no allies, and nobody gives a damn about them. And half the blacks in the country don't even care about themselves. Black folk better wake up and smell the coffee and say, according to those power-nomics principles and those books that Claud Anderson put out, we are special people, exceptional people. We're exceptional people. We're the only people that have never allowed to vote, never allowed to go to get an education. You're the only people, somebody caught you learn how to read and write, it cost them $100 and 39 lashes. You're the only people that denied a religion. You're the only people that denied the right to own property. You're the only people that denied the right to work a job and get paid. I can go on and on and on. And black folk must understand that 99.5% of all the black people in America are the direct descendants of slaves, which means that 99.5% of all these black people in America were here before almost 100% of all the whites ever arrived, before the O'Reillys and the Rush Limbaughs and all these Arabs and Asian, Hispanics and Irish and Germans and French and Portuguese. Before they ever arrived, black folk were here already. And black folk are the most patriotic people in this country. There's nobody in this country that can make this claim. Black people in America, those descendants of those black slaves, are the only group, ethnic group, religious group, that has fought in every war to support this country and whose mother country has never gone to war against this country. We have fought the Irish, the Germans, the French, the Chinese, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricos, every country on earth. We fought every nationality. We've never fought black folk, but yet black folk are the only people that fought with America in every one of those battles and every one of those wars. Black folk are the most patriotic people, and yet they won't point out their exceptionality and say, we want this country started doing something for black folk. Forget about trying to take care of all these other groups until you start taking care of black folk. And in that regard, again, maybe I would identify with Trump. Say, close these damn immigration laws until you elevate blacks up, or you put black folk into a protected class. That's what they supposed to have been in 1866, in a protected class called the Freedmen Bureau. Just like American Indians were put into the class at that time because they were providing the land and black folk were providing the labor. But they took black folk out in 1866 and exposed them because the South still needed their labor, and the North did not want black folk coming north. And so the North, the so-called white liberals in the United States, 98% of them sold black folk out and kept them in the South so white folk can use them again and use them for another 100 years under Jim Crow segregation and peonage.
I tell you what, hang on, Doc. We got a bunch of folks got questions for you, and I know they've been holding for a while. I want to speak to you. 800-450-7876. Let's go to Charlotte, North Carolina. Kwame on line 1. Kwame, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon there, sir.
Okay, so how you doing? I was thinking about, you were speaking of leadership. My fear of leadership is that they would take them out, they would pay for them, they would buy them off. And I believe that we need to get back to the village concept where we all help each other in our communities, or which they are not our communities today, but at least the village concept to where we can help each other. Because, the United States, they promote this individuality. You're doing it yourself. You don't need this person. You don't need that. I'm a big happy guy about the community. I just like that village concept.
All right, let's give him a chance to respond. Thanks, Kwame.
What was the question, Carl?
The question about the village concept, that I guess we're all equal.
Well, that's the ideal thing to be in, because if you were to do a concrete analysis, a critical analysis between comparing what so-called civilized people in America and people in the jungles in Africa, you'll find out based on the basic value system that people in Africa are much more civilized than people in America. How they treat each other, how they participate through communal societies and communal use of the aid and abetting each other, take care of each other. We used to have that, but where we get off a little bit is where black folk pick up a book that was put out by Hillary Clinton talking about it takes a village to raise a child. That's one of the biggest lies ever told. A village is a physical construct. A village is houses and buildings. A village can't raise a damn thing. What you need, it takes a community to raise kids and bring people together and unite them and be in a survival mode. Not a village, but a community. So the gentleman is right. What we need to do is to go back and establish communities in America. Right now, you do not have not one single solitary black community in the entire United States. We're the only people that don't have it in communities. All we got are neighborhoods. A neighborhood is where you eat and sleep. The Holiday Inn is a neighborhood. The Ramada Inn is a neighborhood. But a neighborhood is like having a bucket and pouring water in it. Water runs out. To have a community, you must have all those three elements, which you heard me talk about in all my books. We have no communities, and the man is right. And without a community, you don't have a sense of community. And without a sense of community, you don't have any markets. So you don't have any place to sell. You don't have anybody to buy from you. You're in a hopeless condition until you stop and get away from social integration. Since black people are the only people all the way out there marching for social integration. You haven't seen any Arabs, Asians, Hispanics, Indians marching for integration. Only black folk are pursuing this illusion, this dream, this myth about social integration. You're never going to win, but you keep doing it. And white folk are going to put you in a bag that you'll never get out of shortly.
All right, hang on, Doc. We got to take a quick break. 800-450-7876. Speak to Dr. Claud Anderson. We call him the man with a plan. We'll take your calls next on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Thanks for staying with us, folks. We're talking with Dr. Claud Anderson, the man with the plan. That's what we like to call him. He's going to be at the Power Talk 3 conference. And for more information, go to powertalkseries.com, or just go over to the church, Union Temple Baptist Church, and pick up your tickets there. 800-450-7876 to speak to Dr. Anderson. Let's go to Miami on line 6. Charles is waiting for us. Charles, you have a question for Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, I do. I just want to say, first of all, I didn't really hear what you said about the immigrant, if you meant that to be something written in the Constitution, or was that your personal belief?
Oh, no. The Constitution was ratified in 1789, and the following year, the first thing that the Congress did after they ratified the Constitution was in 1790. They enacted what's called the First Naturalization and Immigration Law, which spelled out who could come to America and what conditions they can come into. And at that point in time, it was a closed court on black folk, letting the black people come to this country unless you come in as a slave. But you can come in here in descending order of skin color preferences. And that has stayed consistently all the way up to the present time. That's why you don't see any, you've never seen a boat go and bring in any blacks from Africa to the United States, or go down to the Caribbean, or bring in the Haitians come into the country. They take them, put them in jail, and send them right back to Haiti. They're trying to make sure that black folks stay a permanent minority. You're in a society where the majority will win and the minority will lose. Black folk are locked into a social construct that would keep you a permanent minority and give the pretense that somehow if you vote, your voting is important. Your vote ain't worth a damn. If you're 12% of the population, that means that you're outnumbered by whites in this society and other groups 9 to 1. You can vote anytime you want to. You can vote 8 times if you want to. You cannot win under the present social construct.
Okay, well, I didn't think I heard you right, but my question to you is this, and I don't know if you brought it up. Well, where does spirituality come into it? Because as far as I believe, I really believe that we are the children of the Israelites. That walked through the desert. We went through 40 years, and after that generation disappeared, another generation came behind that. They got to the promised land, and after 1,000 years, they had done turned God away so much that He brought Babylon to them, and I believe that's where we are today as a people. We are in Babylon. This is not our natural grounds that we came from, and that's why we're suffering in this. And until we find the Lord, until we can find a construct where we have God in our life as well as live in this world, our people are doomed.
All right, I'll tell you what, Charles, in the interest of time, let's give Dr. Anderson, we get the gist of your question. Let's give him a chance to respond. Doc?
Yeah, well, first thing I understand that the first human beings on earth were black people. And so therefore the first religion at that time was Judaism, Jewish. And so black folk were the first original Jews on earth. They stayed the original Jews up until about the 8th and 900s. At that time, King Balon of the Khazarians, he was upset with the way the Khazarian was acting. He sat down and had 6 black rabbis that moved from Africa and move up to the Khazarian, up between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea, and try to re-indoctrinate the Khazarians. At that, once they introduced the Hebrew scriptures to him, then those people became the Jews, and black folk got dislocated from the original religion. The original religion before Judaism was called ancestor worship. And then subsequent to that, in about 6 or 7 a year, then you had Muhammad go into the caves in 629 and write the Quran. And after that came out, they began to promote that about the 700s and 800s. Then they pushed the black folk out of the Middle East. And they pushed black folk both as Arabs and the new Jews pushed black folk almost totally out of the Middle East and all the way down into southern Africa. And that's why they went into Africa, what they call searching for the 3 Gs, God, glory, and gold. So black folk original religion is not what it is now. We are the black people, the only people on earth that have been given a religion. You had a religion, which was ancestor worship, and the first Jews on earth. Now anything. Blacks will run and grab hold of anything and say, that's my religion. And that pretty soon they'll be into Scientology and Moonology and everything else.
All right. Thanks, Doc. 800-450-7876. Freedom's reaching out to us online, too, from D.C. Freedom, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Absolutely. Dr. Claud Anderson is like, always hitting nails on heads. He can hit quite a few of them today. And the conversation prior was good. I don't think Dr. Anderson is claiming a leader of black people. As you said, he may be an instructor, an advisor, a planner, things of that nature. So to the question of whether we need leaders or not, everybody plays a part, and depending on what we're dealing with, leadership comes into question. If you're in an organization, of course. But my question, because as I see it, this has been the problem, Carl. When you first came to WOL, I made this clear. If you don't know it goes like this: no road is the right road if you don't know where you're going. So until we begin to listen to what Claud Anderson is saying, and Dr. Claud Anderson, I want you to try to address this. There's no way, and as you say, the door is closing on us. There's no way black people as a group are going to function in this system without us being prepared to deal with the most extreme, results. So a revolution is necessary, 100%. Do you agree with me on this? Because I'm telling you something. When you talk about assault weapons being banned, when you talk about black people being tricked out of everything they have by whites, and whites getting privileges and other immigrants getting privileges over us, how the hell are we supposed to compete with that unless we're prepared to fight and deal with a revolution? And that takes a process. Do you understand or know, have you been dealing with the process of revolution, Dr. Claud Anderson? I guess that's my basic question. And do you believe that that's the only solution in terms of this door closing on us, or this window closing on us, as you said earlier? Because I just can't understand what else you're going to do. What you going to do? What excuses can anybody who calls here, who comes on as a guest, how many times do we have to talk about the fact that white people are not going to surrender this system or their power? They're not going to do it. What else? Tell me, what other solution is there?
Well, you're absolutely right. But as I say, the revolution that I would prescribe and recommend wouldn't be necessarily a military or civil fight. It'd be more like I want to have an economic revolution. And the reason I say that is because you notice every day on the TV, everybody's talking about gun control. But again, you go back, not one so-called black leader in America in an elected office or in a civil rights organization has ever given you the history of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was put into effect in 1643. The Second Amendment was written specifically into the Constitution to keep black folk disarmed. So what you're saying is exactly right, but you got to understand the history of it. It was put in there because once they decided to enslave black folk, they passed the laws in 1643, and began to say that we can now create militias, white militias, and they passed laws in all the colonies saying that every white person between the ages of 18 and 45 was assigned on to a state militia, and was in a state and carry arms. And that was put into the Constitution as the Second Amendment. So they're saying that they could put down slavery votes and what you're talking about, slavery votes and slave riots. And that way every white person had to go out, and they became called patty rollers. They'd go out on the road and make sure they inspect black folk, make sure they had permission to not be wandering free. The Second Amendment in the Constitution was put in to control and manage black folk and to keep them enslaved. And when slavery ended in 1866, there was a lot of serious debate about taking the Second Amendment out of the Constitution. And the reason it's still in the Constitution, and nobody talks about it, again, because we got foolish black leadership. The reason it's still in the Constitution, the Second Amendment, is in there because at that point in time, the North did not want black slaves coming north. And so they cut a compromise with the South, saying if you keep those black folk down there, we give the land back to you. Even though black folk have been petitioned and been notified they would get 40 acres of mule and $100, and all that land that was lost in the South, they went back in and come out with a new thing called a code of conduct, which says that the land, rather than the land going to blacks in the 40 acres and a mule and $100, we'll give this land back to poor whites and give it back to the rich slave plantation owners who wanted the black labor if they would keep those blacks from coming north. The North white liberals sold you out. 98% of all the white people in the North, according to one survey, did not want black folk coming north. And so, but to keep them down there, the second thing they had to do is they said we have to enact gun laws so we can keep these blacks down here now that they're free, so they won't revolt. And so every state in the South passed laws forbidding black folk or monitoring black folk in the South, just like they did during slavery, that they could not carry arms and weapons and tools or lift and raise their hands and fight and defend themselves. And right now in the United States, which another 100 years later, you got approximately 397 million handguns and rifles in the country. And 99.5% of those are all owned by whites. All the gun ranges, the gun manufacturers, the bullets makers, manufacturers, all the military installations, they're all owned and controlled by whites. You do not own anything. You do not have any gun shops in the black neighborhoods. You don't own any weapons. And so what I would say is that you're going to have a revolution, but the revolution should start with economics. Because if we started practicing the power-economics principles in those books and begin to amass wealth and organize ourselves across this country and unite under racism. Racism is a team sport. If black folk were to come together as a team and started pooling their money, pooling their resources, and pooling their votes for economic reasons, you can become a competitive group and get away from social integration and rebuild your own community and start practicing group economics and group politics. And then that way, and if in the final analysis, you can be just like whites as independents. And if you can, in that point, you can start manufacturing your own guns if you want to. But the biggest thing is, I would never ask you to start getting into a military revolt or a civil disturbance when you can beat them economically.
All right. 800-450-7876. We're going to take a quick break, come back, take some more calls for Dr. Claud Anderson, man with the plan, next on 1450 WOL, where information is power. And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Dr. Claud Anderson. We just call him the man with a plan because it's the only one who's got a plan for Black America. Dr. Anderson is going to be with us at the Power Talk 3 conference taking place at Union Temple Baptist Church in D.C. Friday and Saturday. Friday we start at 4. Saturday we start at noon. You're going to hear from folks like Professor Griff from Public Enemy, Nation of Islam's Dr. Ava Muhammad, the son of Marcus Garvey, Dr. Julius Garvey, Reverend Willie Wilson, Dick Gregory, Tony Browder, Booker T. Coleman, Okabe Kamene. These are just some of the speakers, folks. As you mentioned, these are our leaders. They're going to be there. You get a chance to talk to them. And, if you want to take pictures to them. Let me thank our sponsors, though, the Success Scholar, Haki Ami. Also, I am one of the million conscientious Black voters and contributors, and of course WOL Radio. Now you have a chance right now to ask Dr. Anderson any question at all at 800-450-7876. Let's go to Antoine calling us on line 3 from DC. Antoine, you're on with Dr. Anderson. Is Antoine there? All right, let's keep stepping. Let's go to line 4. Walter is in DC as well. Walter?
Good afternoon, Good evening, Mr. Thomas. How you doing? Good afternoon, Mr. Nelson. I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson. Dr. Edson, I'd like to ask you 2 questions. Number one, when they talk about extremist terrorists, have we not forgotten about domestic terrorists? I never hear anybody else talks about when the South Carolina shooting, when Mr. Roof, the young man that shot all those Black people in that church, I don't hear them say, and especially conservatives like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hanley, and Larry Elder, and they don't mention about the shooting about African Americans, but they want to talk about if you're extreme Islam, but they don't talk about domestic terrorism. And my thought is, for Black conservatives, what do they gain to try to follow the path of the Conservative Party? And I just want to ask that question. Now, I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson. Thank you. Dr. Anderson, thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, let's start with your last point there. Conservatism comes from the root word to conserve. Conserve means to hold on to what one has, or as our mothers used to say in their 5th grade education in the South, that those who ain't got ain't going to get. That's what conservatism means. Conservatism means that you who don't have a damn thing are not going to have it and are not going to get it. You have to remember that conservatives were the people that enslaved Black folk, and Jim Crow segregated Black folk for 450 years. And right now, because under the political correctness banner in this country, they're all over TV bragging and boasting about being conservatives. And Black folk don't challenge them. When have you heard Black folk challenge somebody saying I'm conservative? When a white says he's a conservative, what he's saying is that he's a racist. And whites were always called racist and conservatives. But now it's politically correct for them to call themselves conservatives and not be bad-mouthed for it. But Black folk have to start challenging these people about what they are and making them come out of the bag. And conservatives, and for the Black conservatives, they're just lost and bewildered. A Black conservative is running with the whites, just like in the Uncle Tom book, in Uncle Tom's Cabin, where Sambo was always hanging around Simon Legree and telling the white man that I'll show you how to treat the coons, I'll show you where the Negroes hide when they run across the bridge, I'll show you I'll tell you when they're going to escape. A conservative Black is looking to get benefits, free benefits for being closely aligned with whites. And he can do it freely and openly in society because Black folk don't have a code of conduct to punish him for it. See, in any other society, it was an Indian society, it was organized crime with the mafia, you sold out your people, you would pay a price for it. But in the black community, you are so powerless and so impoverished and poor, and absent of a code of conduct, you don't punish black folks for selling you out. And these people like Larry Elder and Reston that go on TV and radio and badmouth black folk, all they are, those black conservatives, are nothing but black people. It's like in the old farmer story. They're rabbits. I mean, they're running with the white hound dog, pretending to be a friend to the rabbit. So that you got these black conservatives running with the white racists and trying to pretend they're a friend to black folk. You got to nail them to the cross and hold them accountable. And that means excommunicating them out of the race or inflicting some pain, economic pain and political pain on them.
All right, 800-450-7876. Keep moving. Line 1, Timothy is calling us from Washington, D.C. I mean, is Timothy still there? He's gone. All right, let's go to line 6, Haki Ami from B-More.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Brother Carl. How you doing, my brother?
Doing good. This is Haki, our sponsor, right?
Yeah, this is he. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I certainly appreciate it. Let me just thank you again for putting this Power Talk 3 together. You know, it's just an honor for me to serve. And definitely thank Dr. Claud Anderson. Of course, everybody know I have been a promoter, getting Dr. Claud Anderson's book out to people and, you know, critical people that I think should know in Baltimore, key candidates for mayor, you know, over the past few years. But Dr. Anderson, I want to ask a question
Sure.
to you, and look forward to seeing you this weekend. You know, and I want to give applause to Dr. Walter P. Lomax. I know he did a lot for you and, you know, just the whole Harvest Institute and Powernomics. But has there been any other black folk that had any substantial resources? And I know you have your thoughts about that, but can you share on, you know, why or why not, you know, some of the persons that have, you know, contributed or not? And I'll take it off there. Thank you, Carl. Look forward to seeing you.
But, and thank you for in regards to the things that the last 3 things I was running was like Harvest Institute, which is the only black think tank in America that's solely committed to the political and economic empowerment of black people in America. We're not into minorities and poor people and humpbacks and piano players and one-legged and people, one-eyed people and people, as I said, with people with ingrown toenails trying to look out for them. We look out for black folk. But in the 20-some years that we've been in existence, and not one black person other than Lomax, my friend Lomax, has ever given any money to us, not any of the wealthy blacks. But that doesn't bother me, because I said when the wagon comes, they're gonna get theirs in the final analysis. No, they've never given us any money or resources. And when a few of our people went and asked some of them about helping us get out literature and get out issues and get out newsletters and help carry the weight for our lawsuits, we got lawsuits now we've been filing across the country. One of the biggest one is the 1866 Indian Treaty that says that mandated that black Indians and black freedmen be treated in all manners equally to white Indians in the country. That is a law. That treaty is a law. And all the civilized tribes signed it. And yet, in this country right now, and I guess our new president, Obama, every year he's been in office, just about he's called the white Indians to the White House, 564 of them, and given them $3.5 billion every year just to the white Indians, but never called not one black Indian, one black freeman. So we got a major lawsuit in that, and I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money to take it to help out, but not one black has ever sent me, if any money ever sent me anything to help us. We do get money from our poor blacks. They send nickels and dimes, $5, $2, $3, $10, $20 to try to help, and I deeply appreciate that, and I love them for it. But the wealthy blacks have never sent us any money. And I think Dr. France Weston said it well. She told Carl before she died, about a week before he died, she said, tell Dr. Anderson, don't waste this time trying to get money from wealthy blacks, because they're never going to give him the money. They won't give him the money for 2 or 3 reasons. One reason is because most of them, they don't manage their money. Whites manage their money and control them. And secondly, they're scared, and that if they can be identified as anything black, the whites will cut their water off. And so I've not gotten any support from them, and I don't really anticipate any. But that's okay. In all my life, since I was a small kid, I've spent my entire life, in all my years, 60, 70 years, fighting strictly and solely for black folk at my own expense. And that may have been a mistake. Maybe that's why I'm poor now. And white people told me way back 20 years, 40, 50 years ago, saying, Dr. Anderson, you play your cards right, since you're the only black over a state education system, running campaigns for president and governors. You play your cards right, you'll never have to work another day in your life. And I said, what do you mean play my cards right? What does that mean? They said, if you were to stay away from the racial issues, you would get everything you want. And I told them, then after I looked around for a while, I told my wife, I said, baby, we never have to work again. We got it made, until I found out they were killing blacks all through across North Florida, lynching them and all that kind of stuff, and beating up on kids and sicking dogs on overcocks, superintendents in Key West, biting them in the face with the dogs. I told them, I said, no, I guess I'm going to be poor, because I'm going to stick with black folk as long as I can. And I learned early there are more poor blacks than wealthy blacks, so if they don't give me anything, that's fine. But if they ever decided to help Harvest Institute or the Power Numbers Corporation, I'll welcome it, but I'm not going to beg them for anything.
All right, since we're there, why don't you give out the number for the Harvest Institute?
Okay, and they can get in touch with us at the Harvest Institute and also the Power Numbers Corporation for the books and materials. I call it 301-564-6075. Again, 301-564-6075. And you can get, currently we're running a power pack with all 4 of our books. You can get all 4 of those books for $70. And those books are unlike any books that have ever been put out in America. They'll give you that, show you, analyze the issues for you, and show you how to play the game, and show you why you're special people, exceptional people in America. And again, the number is 301-564-6075. And I hope all the people would be supportive. We need your help for these lawsuits we got. And we got lawsuits trying to get money back from the Freedmen's Federation, when the whites stole almost $35 to $50 million from the freedmen banks across the country and bankrupted them after the Civil War. We're fighting for the Black Indians Treaty of 1866, and also the Owners Treaty in Florida, where black folks should have owned about 40% of all the land in Florida. But I have to spend my own money, because none of the wealthy black athletes and the black entertainers has ever given me one penny.
All right, Doc, question. Somebody want to know the difference between Uncle Tom and Sambo's.
Oh, there's a big difference between Uncle Tom and Sambo. See, Uncle Tom in that book, he was a weak black man. He was overly religious and weak, but he did have some principles. And with some of his basic principles, there was one. He said he would never, in his writing, that he would never do anything to hurt black people or hurt, and especially a black woman. And when Simon agreed, the white overseers demanded he make the black women pick more cottons, he said he wouldn't do that. He wanted to beat them. He said, I would not beat black women. When the poor blacks, the weak blacks, the hurt blacks that needed attention would come in the evening, and they had not picked enough of cotton, he would take cotton out of his own sack. He was one of these black men. Uncle Tom would take money out of his own, cotton out of his own sack and stick into a weak black sack to make sure he had enough cotton in his bag at weigh-in time so he wouldn't get a whipping. And when blacks ran away across the river, and Simon Legree wanted to demand where were they going and where were they hiding and when they were going to run away, and Uncle Tom said, I won't tell you that. And so what Uncle Tom said is, look, you better wise up until you start to understand that I'm your Lord and Master on earth, and start doing what I tell you to do. I'm going to have Sambo to beat you to death. Not beat you to death, but just beat you every night on a nightly basis. And so Uncle Tom said, I'm not going to do those things I would not do against my people. So Sambo would come in every night, he and Gumbo, and they would beat Uncle Tom until finally they beat him to death. And so in one way, Uncle Tom was not a bad guy. And the real bad guy is the same guy we got now. We still got him all around America right now. Don't worry about Uncle Tom's. You can always use an Uncle Tom. The bad guy is Sambo. He's the one that always hangs around white people, saying negative things on TV, on the Fox channel, and on the NBC against his own people. Watch out for Sambo.
Right. Doc, we got to go. We got to watch out for them Sambos. But we're going to see you this weekend at the Power Talk 3 conference.
Okay, take care now. And tell all my people I love them out there now.
All right. Brother Ray.
Yeah, God bless you, my brother.
Yeah, hi, Ray. Hi, I'm sorry I didn't mean to ignore you.
I know you're busy, man. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be glad to see your face, my brother.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, buddy. All right, bye-bye now.
All right, folks, we got to run. We're running late as usual. Stay strong, stay positive, stay in the light. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.